Alright guys, freaking Hondagade, driving me crazy as usual. Brand new knuckle, brand new OEM bearing. This hub is in very good shape. This nut is appropriately torqued. And I still have a good bit of play. You see the axle rocking? And usually I wouldn't care too much about that, but it's enough play where it pushes my brake pads in, and I have to pump the lever like 3 times to get any sort of braking action. Alright, so I've been going through hell with this freaking bike trying to get the wheel bearings tight, and I finally figured it out. It had multiple issues. First off, you cannot run a 350D hub on a 300 knuckle with a 300 axle. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you guys. Also, you cannot run a Super ATV Foreman 500 axle with a Foreman lift. You have to use an OEM Foreman 500 axle or a different aftermarket. The problem is the hubs are different. So if you were going to do this and you're going to run Foreman 500 knuckles and hubs, it would work fine most likely. I can't say for sure, I don't have any of those, but I can tell you it will not work with a 300 hub the same way an OEM 500 axle does. And that's because even though these axles are double plunging and stuff, you can see that they're real fat right there after the splines end. And if you look closely, you can see where there's been pressure being put in between the splines. And that's where the hub is hitting that big lip. So you see how my hub's kind of tore up in there? You probably can, it's all greasy. But basically, if you run these Super ATV axles, you can't get the proper preload on the inner bearing race, which means the bearing will fall apart very quickly and it'll be loose from day one. You can see the spots where it was rubbing. So I'm going to fix this with a grinder, and then I'm going to install some OEM axles because these axles are not that great anyways. They are double plunging, which is cool, but you don't need that much travel on the Honda 300. The arms aren't long enough. But yeah, so public service announcement, after putting new knuckles, new bearings, multiple sets of new bearings, and all kinds of other shit, my hubs were fine. The problem is not my hubs. The problem is these stupid-ass axles and the fact that you cannot run 350D hubs on a Honda 300. Doesn't believe me? So here's the 300 hub and a Foreman 500 Super ATV axle. And you can see that when you tighten it all the way down, the bearing is supposed to get pinched between this surface and this surface. That's what puts the loading on these inner races. There's 2 separate races in there. As you can see, there's nowhere near enough tightening down for that to happen. Took me a while to figure this out, and it probably shouldn't have, because all I had to do was this right here, and it's painfully obvious. But like I said, there was multiple issues. So yep, always fun to diagnose multiple issues simultaneously. Fuck yeah. Here's what it took to fix it, which significant. Real obvious what's going on this axle. You see all these little marks? Yep, that's where it's binding. Awesome.